Microbial Odyssey.
Today we're talking about the prokaryotes versus the eukaryotes. That is the prokaryotic organisms versus the eukaryotic organisms. So we'll quickly move straight to the prokaryotes. So to begin with, the prokaryotes are the first type of cells to ever exist, and they exist about 2 millions of years, in fact, before the existence of the eukaryotes. So these are just simple organisms, the simplest form of organisms that do not have a well-defined nucleus. They are very simple. So when we progress, we look at the structures of these organisms and you understand how simple they are. So before then, from the name of this organism, pro means before, and then karyo means nucleus. So this simply means that the prokaryotes are organisms that exist before the discovery or the formation of the modern or the known nucleus. So that is one of the characteristics of the eukaryotic organism, the prokaryotic organisms, that they do not have well-defined nucleus. Rather, but they have the DNA within them. So first, look at the prokaryotic organisms. They are very small, and in fact, their small nature is an advantage because it helps them to multiply very fast as required. Okay? So, then when you compare that to the eukaryotes, in the word eukaryote, eu means true, while karyo means nucleus from the previous listing. So this is true nucleus. So these are cells that have the true nucleus. So when you look at them, you see there is a well-formed nucleus here, right? And it is more complex compared to this. So this is the ancient and simplest form of cells that existed. And these eukaryotes came into existence 2.7 million years ago, and it evolved. Research has it that the prokaryotic organisms evolved into the eukaryotic organisms about 2.7 million years ago. Alright, so when you look at side by side the structures of this organism, if you look into the structure of the prokaryotes, you see that it's a very simple cell. You have the cytoplasm, which is the inside of the cell. You have ribosome, which is about the only membrane organelle here. Then it does not have a nucleus, but it has a nucleoid DNA. This cannot be called a nucleus. The nucleoid cannot be called a nucleus because it does not have the nuclear membrane. Yeah. Then it has the cell wall. It has the cell membrane or plasma membrane. Okay? Then it has the flagella for locomotion. So the cell wall of this organism actually determines, the type, whether it's a bacteria or archaea, but they are all made up of, the cell wall is generally made up of complex carbohydrate structures. Then we have the cell membrane, the nucleoid, the ribosome, and then so that is basically this for the structure of the prokaryotes. Then what are examples of these prokaryotes? Examples of these prokaryotes, we have the bacteria and archaea. So the bacteria and the archaea are examples of the prokaryotic organisms. So looking at the eukaryotic organism, now you look at the eukaryote is more complex. You can see that there is a nucleus. There is a nucleus here, clearly defined with different parts of the nucleus. Then there are different membrane-bound organelles. This is the mitochondria. This is the Golgi apparatus. This is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. This is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. And then this is the ribosome. And so on and so forth. So you see that in the eukaryotic organisms, these are complex organisms with double membrane bound organelles within them with a well-defined nucleus. So when you compare this to this, you see that the different parts of this organism, this is simpler, this is more complex, right? And then this is the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Now, what are examples of organisms under the eukaryotes? The other kingdoms, apart from the kingdom Monera, we have the plant. Examples include the plant, animal, fungi, protista or protists, right? So examples of the eukaryotic organisms will have the plants, animals, fungi, and the protists. While examples of the prokaryotic organisms will have the bacteria and the archaea. Now, using the Venn diagram, let's look at a comparison between the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. So we have the prokaryotes here in black, the eukaryotes in red, and then we have the similarities between both of them in this. So, first, the prokaryotes are simple-celled organisms. Yes, they are ancient organisms, simple-celled, and smaller in size. While the eukaryotes are larger organisms and complex cells. They lack a well-defined distinct nucleus. Remember, we said they only have their DNA or the region called the nucleoid, which cannot be said to be a nucleus because of the absence of the nuclear membrane. Then the eukaryote contains distinct, well-defined nucleus. The different parts of the nucleus, you can see the nuclear membrane, the nuclear region inside, the cytoplasm of the nucleus, and so on. Then they lack organelles. These prokaryotic organisms lack definite, clear organelles, membrane-bound organelles, while the eukaryotes have different membrane-bound organelles as already been labeled with their different functions. Then prokaryotic organisms are generally single-celled organisms, while eukaryotic organisms can either be single or multicellular organisms or cells. Then their primary method of reproduction in prokaryotes is the binary fission, while for the eukaryotes we have the mitosis for other somatic cells and meiosis for the sex chromosomes or the sex cells. Then finally, the DNA in the prokaryotic cells are arranged in a circular chromosome. They are arranged in circular chromosomes, while in the eukaryote, DNA are arranged in several linear chromosomes. They are arranged in single cellular chromosome. These in eukaryotes, DNA are arranged as multiple linear chromosomes. Okay? Then you look at compare the similarity between both of them. Both of them have the DNA. The DNA can be found in the cytoplasm, the nucleus of the eukaryotic organism. Then both of them have ribosome. This is the ribosome. This is the ribosome for protein synthesis in both organisms or in both types of cells. Then both of them have cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is the inside matrix of the cell containing other organelles or other components of the cell. Then both of them have plasma membrane. This is the plasma membrane. Remember, the plasma membrane in prokaryotes is covered by the cell wall. While this, because we are using for this analysis or this explanation, we are using the animal cell. The animal cell does not have cell wall, so you can only see the cell membrane. However, if this were to be a plant cell, there will be the presence of cell wall. But the components of the cell wall are quite different. But the point there is that both the prokaryotes, the eukaryotes, whether plant, animal, or any other form of eukaryotes, both contain the plasma membrane. So this is just a quick review, a quick explanation of comparing the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes, looking at their structures, the different parts of the structures, their similarities and their differences. Thank you. See you some other time. Microbial